Hello folks, my name is Hao and you are listening to a little special episode of Amnesia Machine for Pigs. Now, this video slash audio wasn't planned. I was not intending to do this when I started my playthrough of Amnesia, but basically the reason why I'm doing this, what the purpose of this video audio is to do a quick recap of the story of Amnesia, to just summarize the events of the game, because I admit, even for me, it was a bit complicated and confusing, and I assume it was for you as well. Now, also a reason is that while I was playing and talking about the story and my interpretation, some of my conclusions and assumptions and interpretations of different parts of the story were incorrect. After finishing the game and finishing any recordings, I realized, I thought about it, I read about the story even, and I found out that some of my statements that I made in the videos, especially the last few videos, are incorrect. So I wanted to make this quick video slash audio and explain the story quickly in a few minutes so that it's clear to everyone, because in my opinion the story is the most vital and most important component of a game, and I play the games and I make these videos for two reasons: to get into the story and share it with everyone else and experience it together, and to have fun, of course. So yeah, I want this to be proper. I want everyone to be aware of the story and what was actually the message behind the game and stuff like that. So I'm doing this because I did not explain this in any of my videos before. That's the purpose of this video. Now, the story quickly. I will try to do it as quickly and clearly as possible. Now, as you know, the main character's name in the game is Oswald Mandus. That's me. That's the character I was playing. Now, this guy was used to be just a regular butcher, until he inherited a very big mansion and a lot of money and a factory for meat processing from his father. He got married and he got two twin children from his wife. However, his wife died while giving birth and he was left with his children. They are absolutely real. The children did exist. And he promised to take care of them, but he was so obsessed with his work and stuff like that, so that he didn't really pay much attention to them. So basically, at one point, Mandus goes on an expedition to Mexico, where he finds out about how on these big pyramids people were sacrificed by having their hearts torn out so that some gods will be pleased and weather will be fine and everything like that. And he realizes that industrialization destroys the environment, and it basically rips the society apart into classes, and he decides that humankind, especially the upper classes, needs to be extinguished. Basically, he needs to kill them to prevent them from doing that, and he figures that killing them basically will free them from their sin and their unpleasant lives. That's what he decides. Also, one more important, very important detail that happens while he's in Mexico: he gets in contact with an orb. An orb, if you haven't played the first game, Amnesia: The Dark Descent, I will quickly explain what an orb is. The orb is an alien artifact that basically gives the wielder great power, different kinds of power, I can't exactly narrow it down, but at a great cost. It corrupts the soul and makes you basically evil. That's the short version. That's an orb. There are different orbs, many orbs. That's it. He gets in contact with that, and when he comes back from Mexico, he already has this notion that he wants to purge the world, especially London. He lives in London, by the way, if you haven't noticed, especially England. And from the orb's influence, Mandus basically gets a vision of the 20th century. Now, the game takes place in the very late 19th century, in case you don't know. So he gets a vision of the 20th century, and he basically sees the World War I and World War II and some other events that basically bring great misery, war, hunger, disease to the world. He basically sees a lot of suffering. And one more thing he sees is that his children, his twin boys, will die in one of the world wars, in the Battle of the Somme, which is a river in England. I don't know exactly where it is. I'm sorry, I'm not from England, but he sees that they die in the war, and he basically decides that he wants to prevent them from seeing all this death, all this suffering and disease, and especially spare them this painful death in the middle of war. So he decides to kill them. He decides to sacrifice his children while they're young, so that he saves them from dying on young age anyway, in that horrible manner. So his children are the first victims. He also builds the machine underground, which he uses to basically he at first the idea of the machine is to feed people. He slaughters animals, and he takes the food and gives it to the people to feed them for free. And he plans to then expand the machine until it gets more practice, so to speak, in slaughtering, so that it gets big enough to be able to slaughter people as well and turn them into pigs, pig monsters. Because he sees the world as full of pigs, and he just wants their visual appearance to match their inner beauty, or whatever you want to call it, so to speak. So that's his idea. However, when he kills his children, he's already influenced by the orb greatly. So he is torn. Basically, one part of him wants to continue with his plan, and he's very determined to do this to the world and to make the monsters and kill people and purge humanity. But one other part of him deeply grieves of the fact that he had to kill his children and that they're dead. And he still cares about them and everything like that. He loves them and everything. So basically, in that struggle, he has that inner struggle, and since he's corrupted by an alien artifact, his soul basically shatters into two pieces and separates. One side, his physical body remains, and his good side, his good and caring side that loves his children, remains in his body, and that's the character we play. And the other part is his evil side. His evil side doesn't have a physical body, so since it represents his ideals and his desires and dreams to kill the people and purge the world and change it, and that's the part that actually these ideals drive him to build the machine. So that side of him, that since it doesn't have a physical body, it basically lives into the machine itself, just as a voice, as a soul or whatever, gives a soul to the machine. And I think this is just an assumption, this is not a fact, but in the end, when we see that guy locked into that cryo chamber, I think that's Mandas, and that's his evil side, a manifestation of his evil side locked into the machine and operating it from the inside. But since he doesn't have a physical body, he uses the evil side, which is called the engineer, by the way, because it constructs the machine. He uses the telephones to contact Mandas, so he's basically the one that's calling us on the phones. Now, the good Mandas, since the good Mandas is separate from his evil side now, and his evil side is responsible for the machine, the good Mandas doesn't have any memory of the machine. He has no idea what the machine is, that he built it, and the horrifying plans that he had for the world. He doesn't even know that he killed his children, and that's why when he wakes up, which is when the game starts, he has no memory and he gets visions of his children and hears their voices. That's because he doesn't know they're dead. You don't know they're dead. So these things you see, the children are not real, but he thinks they are, at least. Now, as I said, the bad evil Mandas contacts the good one via the phones and lies to him, since the bad Mandas uses the fact that the good one doesn't have any memory. So he tells him that his children are alive and they are locked deep down under the ground in the machine, and he can save them, which is absolutely not true because they're dead. But the good man doesn't know that. So all of that, the professor, he's absolutely irrelevant to the story. This is my biggest mistake I made in my playthrough and my explanations. I thought that the professor was the bad guy that was talking to us on the phone. That's not true. The professor dies. The evil Mandos kills the professor. He just shares his ideas with him and stuff like that, but that's it basically. The professor is dead. He has no relation to the story. The reason why I got so confused and I thought the professor was the evil guy on the phone was because I read this after that. Apparently the engineer, which is the evil Mandas, and the professor have the same voice actor. So the good Mandas and the bad Mandas don't share the same voice actor. I guess they wanted to not be so obvious. So that's why I got so confused and I thought the professor was evil, the evil guy, the bad guy. That's not true. Just so we're clear. It's a good Mandas and bad Mandas. Two Mandases. That's it. So the good Mandas, the main character, makes his way down, and in the end he gets to the heart of the machine, where the voice, which is the engineer, the bad Mandas, tells him to activate the machine again. The good Mandas is apparently the saboteur from the past, before he lost his memory, because he was having second thoughts about this. As I said, he was deeply conflicted. So one part of him was building the machine and wanted to kill the people, and the other half was having regrets and didn't want to hurt anyone. That's why he was sabotaging his own machine. He was like a schizophrenic, if you want to call it like that. And as I said, since the bad Mandas doesn't have a physical body, he needs the good Mandas to come down and manually, physically activate the machine and continue their plan, which they together manifested. And at that point, Mandas regains his memories, the good one. He remembers that his children are dead, that he killed them, and he realizes that he has torn into two, and that his evil side wants to destroy the world, basically. And, well, at least England. So he finds out that he was the original saboteur, and he decides that he wants to finish his job. At this point, the pigs are out. They're killing everyone. They're basically fulfilling Mandas's idea of purging the world and making it into pigs, which he originally intended, being fulfilled by his evil side, which is the machine, basically. And at this point, Mandas makes his way back down to the machine core. He starts breaking stuff. You remember that? And eventually he makes his way to the end after critically injuring, so to speak, the machine. The machine begs of him to reconsider because this is their idea. They wanted to do this together, but Mandas just refuses, basically. And since he knows the only way to, since he realizes that a part of him caused all of this, and that the villain is actually him, another version of him, so to speak, he understands that the only way to make this right is to basically die. So he goes into the end, he sits in that chair, and he basically shuts down the machine completely, and then just to make sure that his evil side, his evil part of his soul is gone as well, he has to kill himself. So he shuts down the machine and he kills himself, thus completely disabling the machine forever and making sure that it doesn't have a soul, basically, because his evil side was like a soul to the machine, so to speak. So in one hit, he, one stone, two birds, or whatever the fucking expression was, he basically destroys the machine and his evil side in one swing, and he dies. And he, in his mind, washes his sins while the 20th century comes upon us. Basically, that's the moment in which he dies, is the moment in which the 20th century comes, the new year. That's the end of the game. So that's pretty much it. The children are real, Mandas killed them. His soul split into two. His evil side was controlling the machine, trying to kill people. His good side was, he didn't have any memory and wanted to stop the bad side. And in the end, he kills both and stops the machine. Happy end, although half of London is dead. But still happy end. Not really, it's kind of depressing, but, well, this is Amnesia after all. It's not supposed to have a happy ending. Anyway, that's the recap of Amnesia Machine for Pigs. It took me about 10 minutes to explain it. I hope it's absolutely clear to everyone now. It is for me what happened in this game. So that's it. That was the last you will hear of Amnesia Machine for Pigs from me, because I don't think there will be custom stories for this game like the first one. If something new comes out, like a DLC or something, I will immediately play it. And for now, I will focus on other horror games, which I will not reveal, but I have a plan. Expect my first video maybe tomorrow, because, sorry about that, but I'm currently occupied with other things, like playing Grand Theft Auto 5. So, but I will get a new series going. I have an idea now, I know exactly what to do. I decided to specialize, so to speak, into horror games for now in this channel and play only horror games, because there's a lot I haven't played, and I'm sure it will be fun, because I'm still a fucking coward. Nothing's changed after playing these two, Outlast and Amnesia. So yeah, expect more from me, and I hope you enjoyed my series. I hope this video helped you understand the game, and thanks for watching and listening, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.